Good evening, everyone. I'm Alyssa Worsham. I'm a brand and advertising lawyer at Wilson Sonsini law firm, and I'm also a strategic advisor to the Asia Foundation, Asia Society here in Seattle. Before I moved here, my husband and I spent 7 years living and working in Vietnam, and the country is a second home to us. So I'm honored to be emceeing this event, this evening's program. We are so excited to be here for season 2 of SAM Talks. This is Asia Society Seattle's arts and culture series promoting understanding of Asia and the Asian diaspora. We're kicking off our second season with tonight's program with local filmmakers Bao Tran, director of the acclaimed The Paper Tigers, and Thanh Tân. If you haven't already, please consider becoming a member of the Asia Society. We have a lot of programming in addition to SAM Talks. We have executive roundtables on tech, policy, and culture. We have access to virtual programs in Northern California and special member events. I know it gets cold and dark this time of year, but it's a reason to get out of the house and come here and remember that Seattle is quite a dynamic city. We also have awesome cultural events like this. SAM Talks is possible because of our partners at the Seattle Art Museum, and we thank them, and I'd like to invite on stage Jason Porter to say a few words. Jason is the Kayla Skinner Deputy Director of Education and Public Engagement at the Seattle Art Museum.
Good evening. Thanks so much, Alyssa. On behalf of Seattle Art Museum, its staff, our board of directors, members, and volunteers, thank you all so much for being here. We are thrilled to partner with the Asia Society and are very excited about tonight's latest installment of our SAM Talks Asia Society series. First, I'd like to thank the team at the Asia Society and the staff here at SAM. It takes collaboration among many people to pull these programs together, and I want to appreciate the dedication and hard work of everyone involved. Ooh. There we go. I also wanted to mention that in addition to, wait, I lost my place. Here we go. I'd like to acknowledge first that the Seattle Art Museum is on Indigenous land, the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples. We honor their ongoing connection to these communities, past, present, and future. I also wanted to mention that in addition to tonight's talk with Bao Tran, your ticket also entitles you to visit the galleries upstairs, including our newest exhibition, Anila Aga Geometry of Light. It's an immersive and very beautiful exhibition that's on view through April 19th. Please check it out before you leave tonight. If tonight's program appeals to you, you'll want to attend our Saturday University talk on December 13th about the conservation and installation of a group of Japanese Buddhist sculptures at the MFA Boston by Abigail Heiken, the head of object conservation at the museum. And since tonight's talk is by a filmmaker, we are in the midst of a series of films about French food and culture at our downtown location in conjunction with our latest exhibition, Farm to Table. Please check the SAM Films section of our website for more information about these screenings. Here at the Asian Art Museum, coming up at the end of December, we will host the second in our series entitled Spinning Stories on Saturday the 27th, featuring DJ sets, a book exchange, art making, and more during this day-long program. It's a perfect antidote for families who are restless after the holidays and need to tear themselves away from screens and football and eating carbs to take in some fun art and performance. So please join us. Upstairs, we continue to feature the work of noted dissident Chinese artist Ai Weiwei with the exhibition of his beautiful water lilies Lego piece. And coming in the new year, the Zodiac heads by Ai Weiwei will be installed at the Sculpture Park, so please check those out. So as you can see, SAM contains multitudes. We aim to celebrate art and creativity in all its forms and to support the work of local artists, including filmmakers like Bao Tran. I hope you enjoyed tonight's talk, and thank you again for joining us here at Seattle Asian Art Museum. Thank you.
Before we begin, we also want to say a big thank you to tonight's sponsor and my favorite airline, Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines now has new nonstop flights from Seattle to Tokyo and Seoul, with more international destinations to be announced next year, as well as Rome, London, and Reykjavik in spring 2026. So thank you again to Alaska Airlines. We're going to get started now, and we're going to show a quick clip of Bao's film, The Paper Tigers, and then we'll bring them on stage and you can hear from them.
Hello. Yes. They needed permission. Yeah.
This is Bao and Thanh.
Hello. What up, Seattle? Let's show some energy.
I just learned backstage that they've known each other since they were children, so I hope this is a really interesting and perhaps, a little bit, not too embarrassing, but
therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
Yeah.
You could go a lot of directions. Yeah. I'm excited.
Ready for it.
I can go ahead and start introducing while this is set up.
All right.
So Bao's first feature film, Paper Tigers, garnered praise from Variety as an irresistibly good-humored debut, while the New York Times remarked that his lighthearted, refreshing approach neither succumbs to whitewashing nor the model minority myth. Rotten Tomatoes ranks it as one of the best action comedies and best Asian American movies ever made, with a certified fresh rating. He was mentored early on by master action director Corey Yen. His previous credits include editing Cholan, one of Southeast Asia's highest budgeted action blockbusters, and Jackpot, Vietnam's official entry to the 2016 Oscars for Best Foreign Film. He is also a fellow in the Paramount Directors Initiative and the Sony Pictures Television Diverse Directors Program. No big deal.
Thank you.
Thanh Tân is a Seattle-based filmmaker. They're both Seattle-based, I just learned also. Storyteller and curator whose work bridges history, music, and memory across generations. She is currently directing and producing Che's Last Stand, a documentary about the last South Vietnamese soldier rescued during the final battle of the Vietnam War. A trained journalist and former producer for PBS, the Seattle Times, Microsoft, and Starbucks, Thanh now creates films and cultural projects that illuminate overlooked stories of the Vietnamese and Southeast Asian diasporas. Her recent work includes Co Tang Nyak Vang, a living archive and exhibition of pre-1975 South Vietnamese music. Through film and her DJ practice as DJ On Town, she connects communities through sound, story, and collective memory. Really looking forward to y'all's discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Asia Society, for having us. This light is bright. I can't see our audience.
I hear you. I hear the love, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, we just want to know sort of who's in the audience. Like, if you're a creative, a maker, a storyteller, a writer, a filmmaker, I just want to hear it like, woo! Yeah, okay, you are out there. And if you are someone who loves watching movies, listening to music, enjoying the work of creatives, funding the work of creatives, I just am curious, let out a little, yeah, that's me.
They didn't follow the instructions. They said, yeah, that's me.
Okay, so yes, it is true that Bao and I have known each other, like, I think legit, our entire lives.
Yes.
Olympia kids. Olympia in the house? Anyone else? Just us? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
that's me.
Okay. Yeah, we went places in life. We're going to talk about diversity in film. We're going to talk about films in Seattle and beyond. And we're not just going to talk about your career and about Paper Tigers and the success that you had with making that film right here in Seattle. We're going to talk beyond that as well today. So just to set expectations, I'm going to ask Bao some questions. We'll have a conversation with each other. And then we are going to have Q&A. And I just ask that as you when you get the mic, we'll have a couple people with the microphones. When the microphone comes to you, just make sure you ask the question. And if you have comments or anything, then find Bao or myself afterward if you have a comment or any feedback or anything like that. So let's start. Bao, for people who may not know you yet, how do you introduce yourself and the kind of stories that you are drawn to?
Wow. Well, I'm a writer, director, editor. I think a person who might know this, period of time, you probably saw all this happening. But I loved movies and I loved TV shows, and especially growing up as a Vietnamese American immigrant. My family came in the late 70s as part of the boat people generation after the war in Vietnam. We were trying to make a home for ourselves. Ton knows this. Our families formed like a Vietnamese language school and just try to build and continue on the community and memory that they had of Vietnam that they left with the kids that were following. So some are not as better students than others. I think you were a very good student. I was maybe not that great.
You were the worst.
I was. Okay. I was trying to be modest. Okay, you can stop now. Okay, but anyways, but that's kind of our experience, and I distinctly remember growing up. We'd go to Chinatown or the video store, the Vietnamese video store, grabbing stacks of VHS tapes, which is what you saw in this clip was a tribute to that. Stacks of videotapes of TVB series or anything like that was from Asia that were long TV series that we would just binge. I guess you could say that now, 30, 40 episodes, and then return it and get the next set, and that on it went. Also seeing movies, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. All this stuff was happening at home, and we're eating rice and eating noodles and finding the ingredients. At the time, it was a little hard to find, shopping-wise, to get all these things that were to match, the taste of the homeland. Meanwhile, I'm just another American kid going out watching Terminator 2, and Spielberg, and watching movies in the movie theater. So this is kind of this, might call it bifurcated experience, but this interesting experience, and eating hamburgers and pizza out and about when you're with your friends. So this whole experience of watching movies, entertainment, and growing up in culture is, kind of informs everything. If you can relate to that, that kind of tells you everything about me. And I guess more academic minds call it third culture. We were talking about this backstage. I'm old, so I don't know these things, what the kids are talking about, just from IG. But, third culture is kind of this new form of culture that the Asian American experience is distinctly different from the Asian experience or the American experience, kind of the more generally speaking. And funny, I was just in Hawaii just last night. I flew in, and then I was mentoring a filmmaking lab out there, and they just got it. Like I gave you the spiel, and they got it. That's how they grew up. Obviously, with such a mixed community and experiences, they understand that. So I think what's exciting for me now as a filmmaker is seeing what's happening as far as films that are being made, but also audiences relating and understanding what we're trying to do. We're not trying to do the old thing, but trying to do something a little bit fresh, something a third way perhaps. And again, if you can understand what I'm laying down, it makes sense who I am as a filmmaker.
Yeah, and I think that's something, we never watched films like any of these movies together. I was massively into, in Vietnamese we called it An Hom Sa Dieu and Thang Đi Rai Hiệp, like, these wuxia like adaptations that were like 60 hours long, and they were such amazing epics, like a gajillion times better than Harry Potter in my memory.
Throwdown.
Yeah. But well, let me just ask, do you consider yourself a Gen X or millennial?
What? Never ask a boy his age. What would I don't know. They keep moving the needle. I think I'm tail end of millennial.
Okay.
Is what they say.
I mean, I ask that because I'm so happy I'm a senior millennial, and I'm so happy that I grew up with analog, and that, granted, many of the VHS tapes that we watch were like pirated, and like from some auntie's, VCR in Olympia. But, I was that was the only time though that I saw Asian faces, the only time, because it was the 80s and the 90s. Those were the formative years for us. And when you think back to us as kids, what were the stories and the images that you think were missing from the screen?
Well, let me zoom forward because, we've had this recent conversation about representation, being able to see ourselves on screen. But exactly what you're saying, I just never related to the new, experience of being surprised at seeing themselves finally on screen for the first time. Like I saw heroes. We were heroes. We had characters that were lovers and romantics and poets in all these movies and stories that we grew up watching. So it was never a thing that we ever felt lesser. And I don't. Maybe just kind of jumping on that, it's like the what's it called? I don't even know the word. Imposter syndrome. I don't even know it. I don't identify. It's just not a thing. It's just like, it's something that we always knew, and we felt it, and we wanted to put it out into the world as well. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of like,
Yeah. Well, beyond the whole concept and idea that we need representation in Hollywood and in films, let's talk about who has the power to make films and who gets to make these decisions.
the lizard people. No, well, that's a good question. I mean, I heard someone out there, yeah. That's a good question. I think for the longest time, it was always kind of like concentrated in the studios, what we think of LA and the Hollywood studio system. Your Warner Brothers, your Paramounts, and now you're seeing in the news, all that is definitely in question. So that does call into question the establishment. But for the longest time, there was a thread of independent films. And then again, jogging back to me learning or appreciating filmmaking outside of the system, a huge influence was Robert Rodriguez. And he made a film called El Mariachi, and he wrote a book called Rebel Without a Crew, which was basically do it yourself, do it without the system, and this is how you can do it. And again, a Mexican American filmmaker. Just again from that experience, that was another filmmaker telling another immigrant filmmaker that you don't need the system to do it. So there's a lot of ways to make a movie, a lot of ways to get it funded, but the independent route has been kind of like where we have been. I've kind of swam in those waters.
Mm-hmm. Where are you seeing the shifts in power, especially now? I mean, you've gone through a couple different diversity training initiatives. What are you observing?
So as mentioned, I'm a fellow in 2 programs by the studio, which is run by Sony and the others by Paramount. Before it was CBS, became Viacom, became Paramount. It's very hard to keep track of what's going on, as you can see. So that's what's happening. Like in terms of actual corporate commitment, that's always a challenge because you might have one administration. I'm not talking about political administration, but I'm talking about who's actually buying and merger and acquisitioning, and who's kind of like setting the corporate tone. That depends a lot on that. Fortunately for the guilds, the unions, a lot of these programs are mandated because that's how they can get recruitment numbers or diversity numbers into the world. I don't have the exact stats, but I think you can Google it. But in terms of for TV is a different world, but TV directors, the breakdown demographically is pretty dismal. For both women and BIPOC filmmakers or directors is very underrepresented, even in terms of the hires. And it kind of perpetuates itself because you want to hire a person you trust and and there's definitely that aspect and how you can kind of break into the mold. So same challenges around DEI in filmmaking in the same way in many other sectors. But I think in this way it's the most visible and it's most obvious. It's all definitely in pop culture. So we definitely see the effects of it.
Who does the actual greenlighting when it comes to filmmaking, and how does that shape which Asian or BIPOC stories are getting told?
Well, again, let's just say the studio level and the indie level. I'm not going to say levels, but sides, indie sides and studio side. There's all these different mechanisms to get a movie funded or get it made. So on the studio side, it's a big corporate venture. Like even just to make some movie, they have to put it all in. That's why you see Marvel, and these are very big, massive investments. And so obviously the IP is big, intellectual property. That's kind of a hot topic. So you have something that people know about. It could be Marvel or Skibidi Toilet. As if you saw this, it's a huge deal right now. Skibidi Toilet, Michael Bay is in on the Skibidi Toilet game. So it's crazy. But it's that's how they first start there, and then they start adding all the talents and packaging around that to secure their investment. Whereas the indie side, it's actually even prohibitive to do IP because you have to get the rights, and so it has to be a lot more original content or original stories.
There's
feels
always
like a lecture. I don't know if this is helping, but
I think this is very
okay. I love it.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm
I didn't know any of this. So it seems like there's this tension between authentic and marketable. How have you navigated that in your work?
Authentic and marketable. I think there's a lot of filmmakers and a lot of different filmmaking styles. Some are a little bit more art house, a little bit more, yeah, in that world or a festival. But I'm kind of like I said, I grew up watching pop culture. Like I'm a pop filmmaker, commercial you could say, but yeah, definitely the stories that I think of and I am attracted to are stories that are kind of universal. Even though it's about a specific world or specific culture, everyone kind of understands. It's a way that everyone can kind of be welcome to the campfire, and I think that's the power of storytelling as a whole. I think that's.
Are there any myths about diverse content that you wish we could retire forever?
Oh, that there can be one. You know, it's like this concept of scarcity, and you know, oftentimes, in studio route, if they can only greenlight one Asian American movie that year, and everything rides on it, and if it doesn't do well, then we will not fund any more Asian American movies because they all are terrible because that movie didn't do well, right? So it's a weird way to pit filmmakers, and unfortunately, I would like to be a rallying cry to our fellow creators who shouted out, like, we have to look out for each other and work from abundance. Like, there's opportunities if we go out and get it. Don't think that the only avenue is this door that they have open for you, and it's just for one person only. And I think that's how they get us fighting each other, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's the challenge, but also to champion each other's stories. You know, there's a lot of filmmakers I love and support. You know, not the movies I would gravitate to watching in the movie theater, but I support the voices, and I think that's really important to have out there as well.
And I just want to say thanks because you encourage me. I do documentary, true storytelling, nonfiction, very different from the type of filmmaking that you do, but you never cease to encourage me to keep going. So I just have to give you a shout out because
you're welcome.
Yeah, abundance is real. And let's talk about Seattle.
Seattle.
Yes, making films like in Seattle, and tie this to the bigger, you know, some of the global trends that we're seeing. And people don't always think of Seattle as being a film town. From your point of view, what's real and what's stereotype?
I'm going to be, again, a little bit lectury, but I'll just get off it. For the longest time, there were a lot of films that were made here. It was a very active town. For movies and TV, Hand That Rocks the Cradle. You all remember that? Really active film town. Due to many reasons, economically, the production incentive that had kind of popped up in the last 30 years, we've kind of like seeded that ground. So a lot of work goes to Vancouver. I'm sure you've all seen movies that are ostensibly set in Seattle, like 50 Shades of Grey or something like that were shot in Vancouver. And you kind of like notice this looks like Vancouver, not Seattle. So that's economically what's happened in this town. That's not to say that there isn't filmmaking being done. Like I said, the independents will find a way. So there's been a lot of great younger filmmakers who have blossomed into, very seasoned voices that have worked with Megan Griffiths and the late Lynn Shelton and so on. So we have an incredible history of independent filmmakers that have worked here that told stories that are Seattle. For me in particular, like, you saw the beginning of the film, that's a tribute to the martial arts history of Seattle. And just buried very close by is Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee spent his time here in Seattle as a young buck, like when he went to college, he went to UW, and he taught a huge amount of, a lot of students that were not Chinese. At the time, it was very verboten to teach Kung Fu to a non-Chinese person. Just a shout out. Do we have Doug Palmer in the house? I think has a Doug Palmer, Sifu Doug Palmer, is one of the students of Bruce Lee during that period, so he can attest to that. Check out his book. But again, he was open to teaching and sharing his knowledge and working from abundance, catch my drift here. And I think that's very Seattle. I think it's very Seattle. And I think I'll stand on business and talk about, I think that doesn't happen in other cities. Say in LA, it's hyper competitive. People, it's a little tougher to make friends and make alliances. But in Seattle, we're very, very much generous. And I think that's definitely in the water. Seattle Freeze is real, but it's not that real, guys. So it's,
Do you think we have a brain drain problem, though? Like in Seattle, do filmmakers feel like they have to leave Seattle in order to level up? Or do you think that's starting to shift?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been the case. You have people who also call it home base and just kind of go and work, and it's part of where it is. LA still is kind of where things are happening. If that's the movies and that's the type of TV shows that you want to work in. Again, it's a type of filmmaking, the studio version, then you would probably benefit yourself if you go there. Absolutely. If you want to stay independent, there's still a path to be able to do it here. Because even if you do independent and you try to go to LA and get money, like they don't know what to do with you. It's just, so the brain drain is real if you look at it, I guess, from, we're losing our best and brightest to the studio world, but I think that's kind of what it is at a point. But if we're losing, financing or opportunities where they're filming abroad, where they could have filmed here, then that's real too. Again, the incentive, any of the soft levers to get production here in the city and in the area as well.
Mm-hmm. If you could wave a magic wand and change one.
Well, I would put it to the audience. I would say if there's a direct opportunities for the audience to engage with films and filmmakers, I think, and it's not to say that that doesn't exist, but if we can up that, I think that everything else will start to flourish because it'll make sense. Because once communities engage and they're watching films, talking about films, meeting filmmakers, understanding that it's a film town, then that builds itself, and all the other business and the production that'll all kind of like flow into that. I say that to mean because right now we're talking about an industry. It's getting people into the movie theaters is very difficult. We'd rather watch something at home or streaming, or we'd watch it on TikTok or on phone. So I think that's culturally where we're at. But I think there's power still to go see a movie in a crowded room, in a dark, crowded room with strangers, to laugh together and cry together. That's like spiritual. So I think if we can engage that a lot more, of course we need movie makers making movies that can create those experiences. But I think if the audience at least says yes to that social contract and shows up, I think that's everything.
We're here at the Seattle Asian Art Museum, and thank you for hosting us. And also, we're here because the Asia Society asked us to talk about this topic here. And Asia Society is obviously thinking a lot about how to connect local and global. So, Bao, how do you see Seattle fitting into this larger ecosystem of Asian and Asian American storytelling?
Well, again, I think it's the uniqueness of Seattle. Again, the multicultural history, the openness, the diversity. That's our power. I just heard Gio. He's just one of his lines. He said, our weapon is the people's intention. Like I love that line because it's like that's exactly what we have here if we know how to harness and build off of it. Because if our stories and not particularly Seattle, but just here, our diverse stories is a myriad of stories, and if we can build off of that, that's the superpower. We just have to build the right mousetrap to make it all happen. But that can come after. So,
can we talk about like global Asian cinema a little bit? Like,
yes.
I'm just curious, like, what's exciting you most about Asian cinema right now, globally? And I'm not just talking about, what's happening in Vietnam, but Korea, India, the Philippines. Like, what's happening in Asia? Anything inspiring you?
Give it up for global Asian cinema, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right now the GOAT is like Bong Joon-ho. Like, I think he's doing amazing work. And Korea obviously is very, very well developed and have their own history of filmmaking that's incredible. But I will speak on Vietnam because I think that's a very interesting period of time. I've spent some time out there working, and I would love to find a project to be able to do in the future. I think the future is bright for them as well as all of Asia that's emerging. So not in terms of just the fancy Asian countries, but the other Asian countries. There are a lot of exciting things that are happening. The storytelling is so energetic. They just need the infrastructure and the training to be able to do that. But again, the voices are very interesting. I find it makes me feel young just watching the energy of that type of filmmaking as well. So if like Ham Tran is actually my senior, but he's made a great Netflix series called Devil's Diner, so you can watch it on Netflix. But it's a horror anthology, but it's based on the Buddhist deadly sins, not the Christian deadly sins, but the Buddhist deadly sins, which has its own set, and every episode is catered around that story. So I think that's like what we need to see more of. It's exciting, interesting, it's different.
As diaspora storytellers who are often dealing with multiple geographies, there's the connections to Asia, the continent, the US, as well as so many things in between. And what responsibilities do you feel in dealing with? I mean, that's a, you know, it's a lot.
I feel
right?
nothing.
You feel nothing. I mean,
No, if tech doesn't need it, I don't need it, right? If responsibility, I think we're storytellers and we have to tell the truth. I mean, that's first and foremost. So, you know, it's that George Washington, I cannot tell a lie. If we tell a story that's not truthful, then I think that's already rotten from the beginning. So from there, you tell your truth that you have from your story, your experience, or even just a story that you've researched to do it justice. Again, it doesn't have to be totally self-reflecting identity films, but it has to be a story that you can tell and shed light for others people to know about. I think that's first and foremost honesty, and don't sweat the technique. Really, I think the honesty and the clarity of your message or your theme or your idea or what you want to say with your voice, that carries you through a lot. And we've all, you know, seen great first films. They're, you know, maybe rough technically, but you know that this is coming from a point of view and an artist who has something to say. I think that's everything.
We can't really talk about, you know, telling more diverse stories and more Asian stories without talking about funding. And so I want to know, what have you learned about funding that you wish that more emerging filmmakers would understand? Or maybe, you know, talk to Bao 20 years ago.
Run. I mean, financing is the hardest part, and maybe because I myself is kind of like geared towards filmmaking and the artsy side. Let's create, but the money is kind of the brass tacks and just how the whole mousetrap works. It's key. Maybe again, third culture, Asian, doing math, doing art. I kind of understood it, but I'm not like, you know, super great at it. But again, you just have to understand what you're pitching to others. You know, I'll just give you the very practical. Just know the numbers. That's very important. You have to be able to articulate, you know, how this is going to make a path towards profitability or success. You know, and also honesty about whether, you know, all the risk factors. But the other thing is artistically is just to be able to convey what you have in mind and why you're the one to tell that story and put it into the world. And you start there because people can be attracted to that or not, and that kind of sifts itself out because, you know, not all money is good money. Like if just like you want to find partners and supporters, and I know we have a few great supporters and investors in our film. Like that's what it is. They supported me and my vision, and also my team, that they believed in what we could do, and we're forever grateful for that. You know, at the end of the day, that's what it takes to a whole village to get a film out that's independent, that's outside the studio world. I'll just jog very quickly. You know, we had casting challenges. You know, we have a cast of color, as you see in the film. You know, when we went to LA, they didn't know what to do with us. They wanted to change the cast to be white, and they wanted to like do this and that for all, you know, for a cash or for a check. But that was something that we just didn't want to do and wasn't true to what we want to do. Again, back to the honesty. So again, you have to find the people who get what you're doing. It's not going to be everyone, but you find the right people and you keep knocking the door and keep hustling, and then voila, your film is funded. Easier said than done, believe me. But that's there's no secret to it. It's just one step after another.
I feel like one of the things that surprised me about when you were making the Paper Tigers was sometimes it wasn't, and going back to talking about greenlighters and funding and who makes these decisions, but some of the decisions on things like we should have more white people, you know, non-Asians in this, were coming from Asians.
Oh, you stepped in it. What are you talking about? I thought I asked that from, okay. No, that's real. So, I mean, like, if we talk about structures and you know, all that stuff, you know, we would get these notes from the Asian executive at these companies. I don't know, to grease a wheel, it could be kind of cool with us, but, you know, to make the message come a little bit, you know, softer or something is still, you know, but yeah, and that happens. And I don't know. I still scratch my head that you know, executives are recruited to be that messenger. So I don't know what happens beyond, but we just know that the same question, regardless of who's asking it, is, you know, we can consider the question itself versus, you know, who, you know, what's at play behind the scenes. But yeah, that's a real thing. It's again, crabs in the barrel. We all know that thing. You know, our people can be messy, all of our people. You know, if someone's like succeeding, we just pull them down and try to talk smack and, you know, do all that stuff. So that's real. And it's petty and it's jealous. And again, back to abundance. You know, how do we work from abundance and not have to feel like this one person that makes it out is, you know, the only one that happens and everything relies on them. We have to work from there. And yeah.
How do you think about sustainability as a filmmaker? I've always kept a quote unquote day job or a corporate day job to fund my, you know, real passions and to tell the stories and make the exhibits and curate the things that I really, really care about outside. What does sustainability mean for you as a working filmmaker?
Every hustle is a good hustle. I mean, really, like, I think COVID blew the top off on that. Like, we have no preconceptions about like getting second jobs or side hustles. It's not even side hustle. It's just hustles. Like, whatever you have to do to get to where you want to be. Like, I think that there's no shame in that game. I think we've also, if you want to like dig deeper, there's kind of this what do you call it? Fill in the words. This self-made man myth, you know, this idea of like, you know, this person has pulled themselves from the bootstraps and did it by themselves and succeeded. And if your success doesn't look like that success, it's not success, which is not true. And we've seen it over and over. And so when we say we have to do another job or get, you know, some other source of income, that's no shame in the game. Like, you know, trust me, we get it from our family lives. Like, oh, you can't rely yourself completely on this. That means you're not successful. Like that's kind of like embedded thinking for a lot of people. But I think for younger folks, we are resisting that, rightfully so, and understanding that every hustle to get us to where, as long as we have intention to get to where we want to be, that's all good.
If someone
And it gives you experience too, as a writer, as a creator. Like anything that you do, it's also just life experience, and it just feeds into your work.
no mud, no lotus, right? Like, I mean, it's like you just gotta.
What's
feel
that?
It. No mud, no lotus. It's
Oh yeah. Very
Sorry,
good.
it's Buddhist.
Yeah,
It's
no,
Buddhist
very
thing.
good.
But yeah, life
That sounds smart.
experience. It's
Yeah, I
good.
got you.
So if someone in this audience is a funder, an institution, anything in the gatekeeper category, what is one concrete change you would like them to make tomorrow to improve equity?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's well, engage honestly. Like, if you are privileged or blessed with a certain amount of wealth and money or whatever to be able to help projects that are, and again, movie making is probably the most expensive art form. Like, it's crazy. If you've ever been on set or seen it, you can go Google it. It's like an army. It's a lot of people, a lot of mouths to feed, and a lot of people that are working very hard in their own particular crafts and departments, artisans, that are working incredibly hard to make a movie together. So understand that. It's just like any other construction project. It's like any other endeavor that's at a startup. It's big. So when we say art, you know, I feel like we've devalued the idea of art. It's like, oh, it's just something flighty or, you know, but it's real, brass tacks. It's putting people to work. So that's one thing. But also engage honestly. If you are ever blessed to meet a filmmaker who's trying to get their project off the ground or get their vision made, like, hear them out. Just understand where they're coming from. And, you know, you can poke and prod, do all your, you know, your financial disciplinary, what was the word? Diligence. Thank you. Diligence. Do all that. It's all fair play. Completely fair play. But you know, you also want to, you know, start to engage them, you know, first as human beings and understand that they are also just pitching another idea that's just a form of business that also puts people to work. So it goes beyond just the art. Of course, look at the art and what that can do, but also people that can work. There's lots of pluses.
We're going to go to Q&A, but I do want to, as you are thinking about this, you know, start to raise your hand. I think we're going to change the situation so I can see who's raising their hand. We're going to go to Q&A, but just before we do that, while you're thinking about your questions, Bao, what is a concrete step you are taking to try to practice this abundance mentality?
I'm nervous now because now I see all your faces. I'm sorry, ask the question again.
Here.
Question.
I want to know a concrete step that you are taking to try to bring this whole abundance mindset, you know, to life. What's going on?
Well, brass tacks. I mean, my producer Alan and I were trying to. This could be you heard it here first, but we're starting up a indie genre studio for Asian creators and Pacifica creators. Thank you. Thank you. So if you're a gatekeeper, open that gate. Think what Jordan Peele has done for Black American film with Get Out and Monkey Paw. Like I feel like what we need to be doing for Asian Americans, especially in genre. Again, I've told you the story about growing up watching kung fu and romance. Like genre is I think a very attractive type of movie that everyone can relate to. Horror stories, we all know. We have a ghost story somewhere, right? So I think that's all very universal and attractive. But also to be told from an Asian American creator perspective, I think makes it special. So look out. Next few months, maybe we'll launch something or make an announcement. But you heard a little bit here first. Thank you.
I love it. Okay, breaking news.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I already see a hand in the back. You're the first. You're wearing glasses, like third row from the back. We're gonna bring a microphone. Yes, you.
Yes, you. Price is right.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So can you stand up? Do you
Yeah,
mind
I can
standing
stand
up?
up.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah, so you talked a lot about the content you absorbed growing up, right? You went to the video stores, you watched things like Dong O Kam, stories like Condor Hero, Kim Yong. That's what you grew up with. What do you think about what the kids today, the youth today, are growing up with? What do you think about what's coming out today?
Oh my God. Get off my lawn. I don't know what they're watching. I watch my niece and nephews. They're watching stuff that is engaging. Like Demon Slayer is there's a lot of like, people are crying. I was watching them cry. I haven't watched the series, but I watched them cry watching episodes. So something's happening. And I think that's important. I don't want to poo-poo or anything if I just don't know it and I don't necessarily understand it. But I think there's a lot that's happening. What's happening is they're getting smarter and more cultured, dare I say. They are adamantly watching, anime and stuff in the original languages with subtitles, which I can tell you when I was growing up watching movies, trying to get my non-movie friends to watch a subtitled movie was like pulling teeth. It was impossible. So in terms of just the peer space, like everyone wants to see, the creator's intention. So that's a lot of goodwill. And we have to start there. And obviously the attention and the real estate and all that has to be, we just got to be even better and stronger with our storytelling to captivate that.
I'm jealous of the kids now because not only do they have like a ton of options, but you can watch like K-dramas dubbed and it's like more than two people doing the voices for everybody, like back in the day it was
No, the worst version is, have you seen it where there's just one person, just a female, just voice over all the parts?
Yeah, like Chuck Norris movies,
Yes.
like in Romania.
Yeah, if you
back
turn
in the
away,
day.
you don't know who's talking.
I
You
know.
have to watch.
Yeah, so we've come a long way. So I'm jealous of kids today. Okay, I see a hand that has gone up right here where our photographer is, that row. Okay.
I could ask you a lot of questions, Bao.
Hi.
I interviewed you a long time
Hello.
ago. Hello. What would you say, I know that you're still in mid-career, what would you say has been your greatest triumph? And what would you say has been your greatest failure?
Huh. Wow. Greatest triumph. We'll start with failure. Failed many times.
Honesty.
Yeah, I'll start there. I think it's like when I've again, this is the point. I came up as a writer director. I learned how to do everything. I write, edit. I did it all myself. But then when I went to Vietnam, I had to work for someone else. That was interesting because now it's like, oh, it's not really what I want. I'm trying to serve the director's vision, and it's plugging into that, and it's understanding that I wasn't lesser, but I was missing with some edits, and they told me, gave me some notes. I don't know if it's the greatest failure, but it's like they gave me notes that I had to basically rehaul a lot of things. As an editor, you have to maybe do a square one edit and redo the whole approach of the scene because I missed it. And again, it's like things I want to do, but that's not my job. And again, that feeds back into my greatest success. It's like you learn exactly what other collaborators need from you. And I want to be that conduit and answer, but also give people the opportunity to be creative as well. So it's just informed itself from that point of view, if that makes sense. It's a wonky, crafty answer, but it's really just what it is. Those things that you learn in your development of your art and your craft, you think it's a setback, but it really just makes you better.
She asked you two questions, right? Biggest triumph?
That's a pig in a blanket. I gave that to you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You are wearing red. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Bob. Thanks for coming.
Hello.
Yeah, I used to be in this industry in China and here a little bit too. From what I know about this industry and everybody in this industry, it is such a difficult place to be in, and it is just very, very difficult. Like, I really like what you mentioned about sustainability. It's like a lot of times it's either the peak or the valley, and you just never know. Like, the job you have today, is that the start of a future, or is that the last thing you ever have? My question is, this is so difficult. Then what about this career, this job, this thing you do? What does it give you that the rest of the world couldn't? That it's so difficult, but you still decide to keep doing it. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. I think it's all creatives might have different answers, but I think it's the same answer. I think for me, this is the best way I can understand the world. Like, movies is a way to understand how people think, how people work, how, all the crime and the vanities and the evil, like it all is in this make-believe universe of understanding. And I think that's what art kind of opens up the doors. And for me to be able to create in that world is a way for me to kind of understand, but also shape how I might see the world. So it's like that we're both conductors and kind of standing in the current at the same time. It's very, I think anyone that creates kind of understands that responsibility, going back to that word. But it's an awesome responsibility to be able to do. And that's why we do it. So that's what keeps us going when it's really tough or really exhausting or stressful or all the things, because you're trying to tap into, not to get woo-woo, but tapping into the storytelling of the universe. That's so primal for all of us.
Okay, I'm gonna go up here for you.
Champ.
Great questions, everyone. Thanks for getting right to it.
Thanks, Bao. I wanted to bring it back to Paper Tigers, since it's being featured here in this institution as a piece of Asian art, which it is.
Yes, alongside Ai Weiwei, just want to point out.
Yes, true. I appreciate the roaming conversation on how there's just so many nuts and bolts around filmmaking, and it's a lot of just trying to find the resources to feed an army that is going to work for you in the service of your story. But I'd love to just kind of think about the artist process. Like, if you were to have an artist statement with having shown this piece, everyone saw the opening, and a lot of us have seen the whole piece. But once you're able to kind of not think about everything else that's going on and just focus on the process, in your case, writing in a way that's true to your experience on the day of production, directing the performance that's true to the writing, and then in post, editing the performance that's true to everything else. I guess, if you want to just take us through sort of like specifically Paper Tigers, what your artist process was.
Yes. Do we have a pencil, cigarette, and a beret for me to wait? Well, I'll just crib it because I'm not that original. Taika Waititi is one of my favorite filmmakers. He just said, whatever happens in the frame, this meaning your box, your movie screen, that's all that matters. Like, that's what's on screen. Everything leads to that. All the stress, all this, sweat and tears, all the fires or disasters that's happening off frame. What's on frame is the most important thing. So that's kind of the true north in terms of thinking writing and directing and post, like you say. Like, there's so many stages, but you can get confused or get lost in the sauce if you're thinking about, what to do for each stage. But if you're ultimately thinking about what's important for the audience and what they're seeing in this square or rectangle, what have you, that's kind of like keeps us honest. And it's really a great way to keep all the crew honest and all the departments, on the same page, so that, we're not all willy-nilly about it. But again, what's the vision that you're trying to tell? What's the tone and all those things? I'm sure you want to hear all that. You're nodding. So yeah, the tone is really important, your voice, but it happens as you keep doing it. And so when there's no, it's a funny thing. There is ego. This is the most ego-filled industry in the ego. But when you are ego-less and thinking of serving the story and serving your audience, then that's the most you it can be. Does that make sense? Like, it's a weird thing. It's like the less of you, the less of your favorite shots or your favorite stuff, but like, just tell the story. And if you tell the story, that's that's as pure as from your essence as it can be.
Thank you. How about over here? Okay, I don't know how many rows back that is. You are wearing a hat. Yes, there's a microphone to your right. Me.
Hello.
Hi. I have a question about what you're talking about when film scripts go to LA and then whoever the gatekeepers are want to cast non-Asians or non-people of color to play those roles, even though they're written for BIPOC cast members. I've heard this a lot, and Tan mentioned we're senior millennials now. I remember when Better Luck Tomorrow came out, and then you've got Harold and Kumar came out. And so this theme has been ongoing for decades, but society has changed a lot. What do you think has to change to actually reach kind of going over that hump? And is it the gatekeepers? Like, I don't know why this is still happening. Why do you think this is still happening?
Oh, is it for both of us or?
You.
I think the change is within. Like, I think there's no real answer of what happens with gatekeepers. I don't know. Like, I don't know what could and would happen. But I just know that what we can do is to get back to our work and focus on finding a way to get it made and get it seen. That's the other, maybe other side of the coin. It's a great thing to get it made, but we have to get it seen. And that's why I was like kind of stressing the audience to get engaged and be able to come out, because we can make a movie and shelve it and no one's going to see it. It's really not a movie, to be frank. You know, we have to get out there and the audience have to see it, and they have to see a different version of ourselves that they haven't seen. So I just put it on my shoulders in that regard. I don't know what's happening. And frankly, I don't need to know, because it's just changing all the time. And you don't want to be so reactive to all the things that's happening in this world that doesn't really concern you. Like, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Moderator's prerogative. I do have a question for you, a follow-up, because you did these major diversity initiatives. Which was supposed to open the doors for you to get more work and more directing opportunities, and then yet we've seen in the last year, especially, the death of anything that is DEI or DEI adjacent. Are you heartbroken, disappointed? Do you, how do you feel after having gone through those trainings, and how's it working out? Like, did they go anywhere?
Well, the story's not over, because they're just going to keep merging. We'll find out. I mean, again, it goes back to the hustle. Like, everything's a hustle. Like, if that happens and it takes off, great. But there also have other stuff. So I'm not holding my breath in terms of what all the things that are happening on the table. But I do think, I think there's been very disheartening to see corporate commitments wane because something's happening. Like, shouldn't we just care about diversity? Because, like, why do we have to put our finger to the wind and see if it's going to be kosher or copacetic to do so? I think that's the problem. I think we have to challenge ourselves, all of ourselves, about what DEI really means, or what that commitment to inclusion and equity and diversity is. It's not just ticking a check mark. It's like getting actual more voices at the table.
And I have to ask you about Rush Hour 4 being greenlit.
Oh my goodness. TMZ in the house.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the president's request, and why is this problematic? That we'll see representation and people of color on the screen. Like, why is it problematic?
Well, that's a leading question, Tan, and you should know better. It was a head scratcher. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you read the news and it's kind of like, and then you kind of see what's happening. So just a bit of a background. Rush Hour 4, the sequel, not a lot of people asked for it, but maybe you did. Maybe you wanted. I don't care. It's a popular franchise. People wanted to see it. Was part of Paramount, or under the Paramount IP. And Brett Ratner is one of the directors who was Me Too'd at some stage of his career, and has kind of like, went into the darkness for a bit. And now he's directing Melania's documentary, I believe. And I think there's some. Anyways, I'm just giving you the facts. Just give me the facts. Don't. Yeah. And then Trump, I guess, wanted to make a phone call to Paramount and said, let's reboot or bring that franchise back. Maybe as a favor, it seems like, if you kind of connect the dots. Anyways, you have the president telling Paramount, this would be a great idea. And now it's been announced. So I don't know what's exactly. They kind of did a press release that they had money. They didn't have real dates. They don't have real, like, all that, like, again, smoke and mirrors. Like, maybe take that with a grain of salt, because sometimes they put a press release just to kind of like make it seem like it's happening. But there's a lot of things that have to get this movie made. talent have to agree to it. You know, so many things. So as you know, so again, the whole circus has to come to town for that. So it's early, but it is. Yeah, it was a head scratcher, but you know.
Just wanted to get your
Yeah.
thoughts.
But as you can see, it's like it's all connected. If we talk about pop culture and pop, you know, this is very much entrenched in what's happening.
It's like we want representation, but not in this way, you know, basically. Okay. Any other questions? Right here. Thank you. You raised your hand. A microphone is coming to you.
Just a quick question on overcoming imposter syndrome. What tips do you have other than just barreling through it, just pushing through? That's what I do.
Yeah.
And it just sometimes it can be kind of crippling. And I know it's just a single thought, but viscerally it's there. Do you have any tips on how to push through that?
First of all, are you making a film?
No, I'm a musician and writer, and I'm actually
Okay.
working on some recordings and compositions. And I actually came here because I had a creative block, and this was so inspiring. I was just like, I'm coming to Seattle on my day off. So,
Woohoo! Okay.
Thank you. Overcoming imposter syndrome. I don't know. Seafood Dog, you could attest. Do some martial arts. Just get punched in the face. Just do it over and over, and then realize you can stand and you can take it and you can push through. I mean, that's. I don't know. There's no secret formula. Find your joy, and stick with it.
Do we have anyone in the audience who it's like you've got money? You know, you work for a company
I love
or
it.
an
I
investment
love it.
firm, and you're like, this is what I wish you people would understand. You know, you creatives, this is how you get
Yeah.
my money.
Well, just.
Is there anybody
This is
who's
where we get to the
brave?
sales portion of this
Yeah,
evening.
is there anybody brave enough to speak up or ask a question?
Well, just to
Okay.
tee it off, a film can be formatted very easily as a startup. Like if it's you can understand in terms, you could do seed rounds and all those things. Like it's a very modular type of thing. The film is not mystical when you look at the nuts and bolts of it. So if anyone who's invested in any other sector like tech or anything like that can understand this side of it as well.
Okay, and we have a hand up here.
More of just a comment about inclusion and everything. I was, I guess, just a thought to me is I see everybody here, and I work in the film industry in Seattle, but I don't see people that I work with often. And so the inclusion part that I'd like to bring up is that I think that our own outreach can be even more. Like I could have outreached with other people in my community and made sure that they came, because these are conversations they don't hear. And so that would have been more beautiful, and it would have created a bigger conversation and I think more opportunities. So that was my comment. And then the second comment was I thought the film was beautiful. And I don't watch a lot of Kung Fu, but my dad did. And so anyway, I found it really beautiful. The sequences that you did were just amazing. And I was shocked that it was made here. So I just thought, beautiful, beautiful. Hands up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in the back of the room.
I'm not a film producer or anything like that, but I'm on Tacoma Sister Cities, and we run an international film festival every year in Tacoma. And shout out to the Tacoma Grand Cinema, hosts a space for new filmmakers to gather every Tuesday morning. So you can check that out
Good
if
plug.
you want to find community. We were actually just having this conversation earlier today. Like we're looking at showcasing the new Magellan movie here in Seattle. Actually, it's technically in Tacoma, but there's that fear that is it too much otherness? It's a long foreign film, and I guess my question to you is, as Asian Americans, we always experience, at least for me, and I've heard this from other people, this perpetual otherness that we're too foreign to be related to. And what gives you that courage to step into those spaces and assert your authenticity, your identity boldly and with courage? And would love to hear your reflection on that.
Otherness in what spaces?
Oh, sorry. It's like the perpetual foreigner syndrome. So it's where Asian Americans born and raised here for generations, they still face a lot of otherness, like they're not like included
Yeah.
as part of. So
Okay.
especially for our story. Sorry. if
No,
that
no,
wasn't
I get it.
clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Well, I think we all never it's being comfortable in your own skin. Even among Vietnamese people, I don't always feel entirely comfortable. Or Vietnamese American too. It's like sometimes some of the same talk about playing cards is kind of gets boring. It's like we always find what we're vibing with. So otherness is I don't know, a condition I got. But I think I understand what you're saying. How to kind of fit in, and it kind of plugs into the imposter. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's just I just do it. You belong here just as much as anyone. It's like it's all that. So I just don't. You never don't hide what you're trying to say. Speak with your chest. Say it. Say it out loud. Who you are and where you come from.
What did you say to the Asian executive who was like, I want less Asians and more non-Asians?
I said, yes, sir. More of that, please. I just said, we respectfully pass. Again, in the industry, we are wanting good graces, and you never know who they find and who they end up. They might leave that company and see the light. It's like, it's not about that. Again, you take the question for what it is, and you say, does it work for you? Respectfully pass if it doesn't. It wasn't that much. It wasn't a complicated feeling getting it at all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is a wrap for our conversation today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.